Thank you, Chairman Webster, and thank you for calling today's hearing. The issues we're examining today are paramount to the success of the Coast Guard. Over the past 3 years, I've had the opportunity to visit Coast Guard stations across the country. I've been on icebreakers, national security cutters, fast response cutters, various aircraft, and small boats. While I enjoy seeing Coast Guard assets, I leave every visit struck by the professionalism of Coasties. I'm sure that anyone who has a chance to interact with members of the Coast Guard feel the same. Unfortunately, we're here today to talk about the small minority in the Coast Guard whose actions have affected morale, safety, recruitment, retention in the service. As a veteran, I know firsthand the importance of morale in the military. Those choosing to serve our country sacrifice so much, and they deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. Perpetrators of sexual assault and sexual harassment and the command leaders who permit those actions must be held accountable. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses today on how the Coast Guard plans to do that. It is unacceptable that the Coast Guard decided to hide Operation Fouled Anchor. Let me repeat that. Hid Operation Fouled Anchor. This subcommittee conducts oversight of the Coast Guard, and we should have been told. I look forward to hearing today about the systems you put in place to ensure this never happens again, regardless of who's leading the service. More importantly, those involved with burying the findings and recommendations are responsible for 5 years of inaction from the service. I want to be clear. If the former leadership had treated this issue with the seriousness it deserves, the seriousness in which Admiral Fagan is addressing the issue, incidents of sexual assault and sexual harassment would have been greatly prevented. Instead, the former leadership appears to have prioritized the reputation of the Coast Guard over the Coasties. That cannot happen again. I would like to applaud the actions taken by Admiral Fagan since learning of Operation Fouled Anchor. The directed actions in the accountability and the transparency review are comprehensive and serve as a good starting point to effecting cultural change and eradicating this behavior from the service. I am, however, concerned that the Coast Guard is able and willing to make the long-term commitment necessary to effect real change. Leadership at the Coast Guard is constantly changing, so future leaders must continue what Admiral Fagan has started. I look forward to hearing from the GAO today on structural impediments in the Coast Guard. Implementation of reforms must be tracked, measured, and adjusted as necessary. Without the appropriate IT infrastructure, this will be difficult and challenging at best. And that leads me to my last concern, funding. Many of the directed actions in the ATR will require funding. Congress must provide the appropriate funding to ensure a shift in culture within the Coast Guard. Recruitment and retention and the success of every mission depends on it. Mr. Chair, I yield back.
I now recognize the ranking member of the full committee and Mr. Larson for 5 minutes.